what two autistic children taught me about my quantum biofeedback practice. I want to share it with you today. I think it will make a difference for you practitioners of healing arts, specifically quantum biofeedback practitioners, or people thinking about having sessions or thinking about becoming a practitioner. The system we're using is either the class 32 program or the class 64 software program, and the name of the equipment is either SKIO, QXCI, Indigo, EPFX, eDoctor, Quest 9, etc. Back then, I was using the SKIO. Okay, same, as I said, same type of software. Okay, first of all, I was doing little clinical pilot studies for companies. This was right after graduate school, for companies that had other energy medicine equipment. And so one of these women who was in one of my studies had adopted a child who was autistic and had Asperger's autism. He was 6 years old, and she loved her child, but quite frankly, she was almost afraid of him in some ways. She was a fundamentalist Christian, we love our fundamentalist Christians, we love everybody, okay? But she didn't believe in reincarnation or all these things this child was telling her, that he remembered his mother from another lifetime, and that, he could see certain energies. And, I think he even said he came from another planet, and she didn't know if she maybe had the spawn of Satan, as her child or what. She was really frightened. And he had some other issues that she wanted to deal with. And she asked me, did I think that I could help her? I said, well, I certainly will try. I have no expertise in autism. And I didn't know the difference between one kind of autism or another, but it was my turn to learn about it. So if you watch my other video on testing and calibration and unzipping or unblocking someone's energy field or untrapping someone from the energy field, this is the story about that little boy. First of all, he had come in, and when I would work with children, now this is all pre-HIPAA and everything, and it was more of a very casual kind of an office situation. He had come in at one point, and I was working on my daughter, and I had this displayed, because little kids, she was 6 at the time, and I had projected onto the wall the body viewer and some of the pictures and stuff so that she had something to watch. This is before every kid had, a cell phone or an iPad. And he had come in the office, and at one point it was the test matrix with all the million, thousands of frequencies up on the screen and projected on the wall. And he had come up and he started reading them. Now he's 6 years old, and he's pronouncing words I can't pronounce, and he's not stumbling at all over his words. So this little guy was truly brilliant. Anyway, so this is the one the mother's asking me to put, could I work on it? I said, sure. So the day that he comes in, I hooked him to the head harness, the straps, the, legs, the ankle straps, and I, loaded the demographics, hit the calibration button, calibrated him, which is the handshake of the system really getting to know that client, and then did the testing, test him over the 27,000 or more frequencies to see where those stressors are. And the system shut down after the testing. Wouldn't let me do anything else. So I did it again, calibrated him again, tested him again. I know better than to do that. Now you wouldn't need to do that or want to do that. Your data, you're not gonna hurt anybody, but your data is gonna get a little messed up. It's gonna really believe that child or that client has a lot more stress than they do. So I did this 3 times. Okay. After the 3rd time where the system shut down, I told the mother, I said, I am so sorry, but there's something wrong with my system, and I'm not going to charge you. I know we're, half an hour into the session already, but could you bring him back on Wednesday, and I'll, make sure it gets fixed, and we'll do it again. So sure enough, she comes back in on Wednesday, and the little boy walks right up to my system. He points to it and he says, that thing freed me from my own energy field. I was trapped in my own energy field, and that thing freed me. Now, that's something I have never forgotten, because even in testing and calibrating, sending all those frequencies and having this cybernetic feedback loop where the person's getting maybe the remedy for some pathogen or something. And so they're shifting. I mean, we're an energy field. We're a dynamic energy field. So they're getting that remedy. And so that's a new body now, because now maybe it doesn't have that stressor. And so, it goes on and on and on like that. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I will use my light therapy for those of you all that have that prior to even testing, because a lot of times certain stressors they won't even show up. But certainly I had never considered that anything really was happening in the testing, in the calibration phase, that would have been therapeutic at all, until this little boy actually taught me. Now I have great love and respect for simply calibrating and testing. Okay. And, so that's what the one thing, that's what he taught me. Now, the next little girl that was a great teacher for me, not only was she autistic, and she was about 7 or 8, big child, like tall, the size of an adult body, a small adult, but anyway. And not only was she autistic, but she was deaf. Being autistic and deaf, she was also had behavioral issues, in that her parents and grandparents hadn't really learned to fully communicate with her. She didn't sign. She had a couple of signs, but she would run away all the time. She would run off. She would, when she was coming into my office, I'd say, okay, take all the valuable stuff off the shelves, because she'll just come in and just start knocking things. And it's like, oh my God, don't let her around the vibe machine or certain things like that, because, she might act out and break them. So, and her mother has given me permission to share this story. So her grandmother actually was in one of my studies. And so that's how the mother knew about my other work that I did. And so she came in one day and she said that, asked me to work with her child. She said she really couldn't, afford to pay, full price, but, she'd be willing to pay $20 a session if I would be willing to do that. And I said, sure, okay. So, but she said, but those straps and the head harness and stuff, you're not getting her in that she's, you can't touch her. You can't, that's not happening. So I said, well, watch me. Okay. Let me just go for it. Okay. So my daughter was 6 years old at the time, and Grace, and I said to Grace, I went home and I said, Grace, I have this little child who's afraid of getting a session with me. And so I'm going to pay you $1. Okay. And when the day she's coming in for a session, I'm going to have you come to the office, and I'm going to hook you up with because she had been in the straps and she had many sessions done. I'm going to hook you up with the straps and the head harness and everything. And I'm going to tell you, when she's about to walk in, you have to act like you're having a lot of fun, because what one kid wants, the other one wants, right? And also, I had the screen, I had the body view and things happening, so the kids had something to look at on the screen, because, like I said, all kids didn't have all their electronic devices at the time. So anyway, little girl comes in, she goes, and I had a lounge chair that my daughter was sitting in, and so she goes up to the lounge chair, and just, the new client goes up and looks at my daughter impatiently. My daughter's smiling and like she's having a good time. And I said, Grace, you have to get up. It's her turn. Now, I know that this child couldn't hear me. She was deaf. But, she could see that I was making the child get out of the chair, and she jumps in the chair. And I hook her up. And, I had already loaded all the demographic stuff, so we didn't have to take any time for that. I did that in advance, calibrated her, tested her. The system did not shut down. And I started going for it. And she was getting very relaxed. And I knew her mother said, you know, you probably only have about 20 minutes before she's going to act out. And so I was working in the brainwave patterns. I was working, you know, all over the place, as you would imagine, for working on a condition with the brain, et cetera. Well, the child fell asleep. Now, I have never done this with another person, and I am not suggesting that you do it, but she was in the straps almost 2 hours. Normally, you'd have someone alarming out. You don't want to do that. You don't need to keep them 2 hours, especially a child, blah, blah. But I figured this is my one chance, and I'm going for it. So I did. And I worked all over the place. So the spine, the back of the brain, all over the brain, in the brain scan, in the brainwave patterns, in the ears, et cetera, et cetera. 2 hours later, the child who was normally very, very wild woke up. She's very, very quiet. Well, that's not unusual. That's to be expected. She's relaxed. She's very quiet. She gets up out of the chair. We get her unstrapped. She gets in the car. She doesn't run away. She doesn't fight. But again, child had been sleeping. So that was that. And about 4 or 5 days later, I got a call from her mother. And she said, I have to tell you what happened. She said, Anna went to the refrigerator. And she opened the refrigerator. She's never acknowledged the refrigerator before. She said she took out some eggs. She took out the butter. She went to the stove. She fried herself some eggs. She never acknowledged the stove before. She said, I have a child now. That's not enough to make you know that your work is worthwhile. I don't know what is. After that, at this point, she was not able to even be in school. So after that, she's got a child. That child is somehow untrapped from her energy field. I don't know. I didn't use that term before the other little autistic child told me about it. But they were then able to get her in a school for the deaf. She learned sign language. Every few years I hear from them, she was doing extraordinarily well, and she was planning to be a physician. So use your system, go, get trained as best you can. But the number one thing is for you to try. Okay, I hope that helps. Because see, I didn't really know anything about autism, but I was willing to try. Now, at this point, I'm supposed to say, subscribe to our channel and hit the like button and the notification, all that. But really, I want to say that because this is going to be a whole series. And if you like what we're doing here, then you're going to want to know when the next video is posted.